It's time now for the news review of this bulletin. Tehran has lashed out at Washington for imposing sanctions on 4 Iranian nationals. The Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesman Said said the current U.S. administration is unfortunately pursuing the failed policy of its predecessor. He said U.S. officials are resorting to, quote, Hollywood-style scenarios to maintain their sanctions-driven existence. His remarks came after Washington blacklisted 4 Iranian intelligence operatives for an alleged kidnapping conspiracy on U.S. soil. The U.S. Treasury Department said the sanctions target all property of the 4 individuals in the U.S. or in U.S. control and prohibits all transactions with them. They were alleged to be hatching a plot to abduct an anti-Tehran figure in July. Mustafa Khoshchesh is a journalist and political commentator who joins us. We also have Marcus Papadopoulos, who's a historian, analyst, and author, joining us. Welcome to you both. Mustafa Khoshchesh, first over to you. Iran has said that this administration is pursuing the policies of its predecessor, the former U.S. President Donald Trump, in creating this Hollywood-style scenario to then go ahead and sanctions the 4 Iranian individuals. Coming at a sensitive time, I would think, what message is the U.S. trying to send Iran?
Hello, and thanks for having me. Well, it's, a continuation and a piece, actually, in the United States containment strategy that started under Obama, but it's a poor quality, actually, imitation of Obama-era tactics to discredit Iran, damage the Islamic Republic credit in order to pressure Tehran into talks. When Obama started this containment strategy in the first 3 to 4 years before the talks started in 2013, they went for 9 to 11 plots, schemes like this in order to discredit Tehran. And they didn't care if anyone would believe their lies, but what they wanted was just to harm Iran's credit. And this new case that they are...
Okay, looks like we have lost Mustafa Khoshchesh temporarily. Marcus Papadopoulos, this comes at a sensitive time in the fact that the U.S., at least on the surface, looks like not only to have withdrawn from Afghanistan, but moving on further to the west, you have what's happening in West Asia. In particular, you're looking at Iraq and perhaps Syria, where there were news that the U.S. actually left 3 of its military bases there. You would think that you want this region overall to somewhat become stable, given that Iran, potentially you got the nuclear talks, maybe a breakthrough there, maybe not, but you also have Iran and Saudi Arabia trying to hatch things out. Don't you think that this would increase tensions and it's counterproductive in a sense?
Well, this latest development reinforces the prevailing view amongst prudent analysts that America under Joe Biden has no intention of any kind whatsoever of returning to the JCPOA. And in regard to America's position in the Middle East, the current administration will follow the same policy and will adopt the same methods of its predecessor, namely to safeguard American supremacy in the Middle East at all costs, even if there is truth to the stories which are doing the rounds at present that the Americans may have evacuated all or some of their military forces which have been illegally occupying Syrian territory. That does not mean, of course, that America's position in the Middle East has been weakened. On the contrary, America's mastery of the Middle East is quite simply supreme, because Israel and then Saudi Arabia and of course other countries on the Arabian Peninsula, such as United Arab Emirates and Kuwait, are major conduits for American power in the Middle East. So the Americans are looking at Iran now in a most sinister, in a most malicious manner, because the Americans, whilst on the one hand understand that they remain supreme in the Middle East, and they will be supreme for the foreseeable future. Nonetheless, what I describe as an unofficial alliance between Russia, Syria, and Iran has emerged in the Middle East, and that is posing a serious challenge to the American position in the Middle East. In short, the Americans and their allies, such as the British, the Israelis, and the Saudis, do not have the room for maneuver in the Middle East that they once had. It is not impossible for them, of course, to ignite another conflict in the Middle East. But in order to do so, the Americans and their allies, and of course Britain, would have to take into serious consideration the factor of the unofficial alliance between Moscow, Damascus, and Tehran.
Okay, we have Mustafa Khoshesh back. If you can kindly please proceed where you left off. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that, but you know, as I was telling you, this is a poor quality imitation of Obama era tactics in order to pressure Tehran. When Obama, you know, started 9/11 schemes in order to discredit Tehran, and especially raise the costs for Iran's friends and allies like China and Russia, to discourage them from supporting Iran and to pressure Tehran into talks. And in one of such cases, they even claimed that an absent-minded used car dealer, an Iranian American called Arbab Sierra, was arranging an assassination of Saudi envoy to Washington. As expected, a few months later, they called him, mentally ill and sent him to a mental asylum house. And after, having a non-binding UN General Assembly resolution, which of course didn't mention Iran's name, but just condemned any effort to or any attempt to assassinate the Saudi envoy. That was just to discredit Iran as a responsible actor that has uprooted now the terrorist Daesh that were that had been created by Washington's allies, admittedly, and even according to some proofs, by the Americans themselves. Iran is a responsible actor. Now, they are trying to discredit Tehran, but here is a point that it shows us a number of things. I mean, this new allegation that they have raised. First of all, they don't have anything on Iran. Second, so because they are going after such naive plot and plotting and imitating Obama, old-fashioned Obama style, plotting against Iran. Two, that the point in here is that they don't have anything else to sanction. Apparently, some people say that they have Tehran streets to sanction. They have sanctioned everything they could. And we are now 1.5 years after the peak of efficiency period of the sanctions, and they know it. So they are empty-handed. A look at the sanctions could tell you that. A third point is that this could also be a move to silence domestic opposition by Republicans and others who are critic of the Biden administration's foreign policy. But more importantly than anything else, it is showing us that Blinken and the Biden administration and Mali and others, they have failed to realize the requirements of the new era under President Raisi. It's neither Ahmadinejad era nor Rouhani era. It's a complete new era because Iran has earned lots of experience how to play with the United States on this chessboard. And it shows that they don't know what to do. They want Iran back because they are in need of an agreement, badly in need of an agreement, because that's the only option they got. They don't have anything else to force Iran to give up its, power components, like in the missile and regional or in the nuclear industry. So what matters now is that they have also been somehow cautious because they have imposed sanctions on 4 Iranian individuals just to raise a little pressure, an inch more pressure, to give impetus to Tehran, to give in to their demands in the Vienna talks and to get back to the table, to the negotiating table.
and agree to what they want to do and on what they want to receive from Iran. But they are very much also cautious not to raise, the stakes, because they know that Red Sea is different, but they don't understand the requirements. My suggestion to Blinken and others is that try to understand the requirements under the new administration of Iran. It will be different from the past completely.
Okay.
You will need to revise Iran's policy.
All right. 1 minute to you, Marcus Papadopoulos. I noticed you wanted to say something when Mustafa Khoshesh was speaking. Go ahead.
Yes, indeed. Iran is exceedingly well accustomed to America's hostile approach to it. Indeed, the Iranians are so well conditioned to this threat from Washington, which they have endured for over 4 decades now. And as I have said on countless occasions in the past, if Iran was able to withstand the diabolical threats which it received from America under Ronald Reagan in the 1980s, when the Iranian economy was precarious, to say the very least, then Iran in 2021 is more than capable of withstanding whatever sanctions Washington chooses to place on the country, because in 2021 the Iranian economy is robust, Iranian society is united, and the Iranian armed forces are powerful.
Thank you for that. Marcus Papadopoulos, historian, analyst, and author there from London. Thank you so much. And Mustafa Khoshesh, thank you, journalist and political commentator. And with that, we come to an end for this news review.